Drew Carney drove down to the coast this morning for a hot breakfast, courtesy of an Oregon institution. For more on this story, we head out live to the original Moe's in Newport. Drew, I would imagine that clam chowder's on the menu.
Yeah, that's the hot breakfast you referred to. Yeah. Looking for well worth the 2.5-hour drive, as a matter of fact. Serving up a family-style portion of the famous Moe's clam chowder, and I'm joined this morning by the owner of Moe's, Cindy McEntee. We're at the original Moe's location. There are 6 now altogether, but we're at the original location right here in historic Newport. And Cindy, there's a lot to cover this morning. Of course, we are going to go behind the scenes. We're going to see how you make some of this famous clam chowder from scratch. Correct. We're going to head upstairs because I know you make a lot of the chowder. Almost 500,000 pounds of clam chowder a year, I'm told. So we'll see how you guys do it in mass production upstairs. But there's a lot of history here to be told. In fact, you wrote this little book.
I did.
Moe's on the Waterfront just came out earlier this year. Tradition turned legend. There's a lot of stories, a lot of lore behind Moe's. One of the main things that people don't realize is that Moe's is a she, not a he. A lot of people still think Moe's was a guy, but it's your great-grandmother, correct? Or your grandmother?
My grandmother.
Okay, tell me, what do people, they think that she was a male football player? That's one of the stories?
Yeah, well, we hear all sorts of stories, you know, and everybody wants to be local here, so they'll make up stuff, and they come up with it, you know. She had a very deep voice, and when she was on the radio, it was hard to tell. Really, it was very deep and gravelly, so it's an easy misnomer.
You said it straight, though, in the book.
Yes, I did.
Another story, we noticed as soon as we came in here, we have the woman in the car busting through what looks like the garage there. That used to be an actual wall.
That did. It was our front door.
And someone actually drove through there?
Yes, a lady at about 4 o'clock, well, it was about 3:30 in the morning. Her husband ran in here to get coffee, and she thought she put the car in reverse, and instead she put it in drive, and drive she did.
And instead of fixing the wall, they just made it into a garage. Now you can drive right into Moe's here on the waterfront. Pete, again, 7 and 8 o'clock hours behind the scenes, learning how they make that delicious clam chowder. Now it's time to eat.
Oh, that looks so good. Drew, thanks so much, and we're going to check back with you after you've digested some of that. 6:56 is the time.
And they serve up some of the best clam chowder around.
Oh.
Perhaps you've had it. Drew Carney is spending the morning at Moe's in Newport. Drew?
That's right, guys. We are at the original Moe's in Newport this morning, home of Moe's famous clam chowder, also the inspiration behind this new book, Moe's on the Waterfront. A little behind-the-scenes activity at this Oregon institution coming up this morning on Good Day, Oregon. Oh, looking good this morning. First live and local.
Still ahead, soup's on for Drew Carney this morning. He's hanging out at the coast at the original Moe's. Drew?
Behind the scenes at Moe's this morning in Newport. The original Moe's. Now, most of us familiar with their famous clam chowder, but this morning they're going to show us how it's actually made. Of course, you need plenty of clams, a little potatoes too. The behind-the-scenes look at the original Moe's coming up on Good Day, Oregon. We are first, live, and local.
And Drew Carney is enjoying his morning at the coast. He's checking out an Oregon coast must, and it's all about food this morning, apparently, Drew.
That's right, Pete. I'll tell you what, it's hard to make a trip to the coast without enjoying a little Moe's. Moe's original clam chowder here this morning. We're at the original Moe's location in Newport. Coming up next, plenty more where this bowl came from. Cindy McEntee, the owner of Moe's, the granddaughter of Moe, going to show us how they make some clam chowder. Moe Chowder coming up on Good Day, Oregon. First live and local.
The story behind one of the state's most successful small businesses has been put on paper thanks to the granddaughter of the woman who started it all. Drew Carney brings us more this morning, live from the original Moe's in Newport. And Moe Chowder, please. It looks pretty darn good.
Pete, I'm a big fan of New England clam chowder, always have been since I was a little kid. And when I first moved to Oregon about 5 years ago, they said, you had to check out Moe's down there at the coast. You have to check out Moe's. And, a lot of times you'll be disappointed when you get that much hype. Oh, if you love clam chowder, you'll love Moe's. Oh, okay, we'll see about this Moe's place. It did not disappoint. And here we are now this morning, guys, checking out how actually they make their world-famous New England clam chowder. I'm going to call it world-famous. I know you guys don't like to brag like that. One of the other reasons we're down here is because Cindy McEntee, who is actually the granddaughter of the original Mo, the Mo that started this all, wrote a book not too long ago called Mo's on the Waterfront, Tradition Turned Legend. It gives us the background, the history of this terrific business, a little history and insight into what your grandmother was all about, and it really is a family business. Now your son and daughter are involved in Mo's themselves, correct?
That's right.
Okay, now we don't have a lot of time in this segment, but I want to find out what exactly goes into the clam chowder. So you've got all the ingredients laid out for us here this morning. It's pretty simple, it looks like.
It's very simple. We have potatoes,
Okay.
which we boil up.
Boiling a little potatoes.
And chopped clams.
Got to have the clams.
And we cook those up. You have bacon and onions, which you saute.
Now your onions are in your chowder.
Yes.
All the time?
All the time.
They fooled me. I supposedly hate onions. I didn't know there were onions in your chowder.
They're very small. This is a small batch. You know, this is like a home-sized version of
Oh, you guys are
chowder.
so good. You've been sneaking onions into me all morning long. I didn't even know it. That's amazing. And then we use a little flour, a little seasoning.
A little flour, a little seasoning, and we put the flour in this.
Now, I know that your grandmom started Mo's back in like the early to mid 40s. A lot of history here. We actually have a picture of Mo right there. She did pass away in 1992.
That's
correct. But a lot of history, including when Robert Kennedy visited Mo's himself back there in 1968 on his campaign tour. Unbelievable history here, guys, and we're going to continue sharing some of the history of Mo's in recognition of the book, Mo's on the Waterfront. We'll head upstairs, see how the big production process works. That's coming up in the 8 o'clock hour of Good Day Oregon, first live and local. Hanging out at the original Mo's this morning in Oregon Coast Institution. More coming up on Good Day Oregon. You want to try some? Oh, it's good. First live and local.
Still ahead, we're going to head back to Newport. Drew Carney is there this morning at an Oregon Coast favorite. Drew?
That's right, hanging out at Mo's this morning, ready to add some bacon to our chowder base. Kimberly, behind the scenes, you know they make close to 500,000 pounds of clam chowder here every year. Unbelievable. There's your bacon, there's your chowder. We'll go deep behind the scenes and see how they do it. Coming up next on Good Day Oregon, stir it, baby. Stir it, yes. Oh, first live and local. Jump on in.
It has become as much a part of the Oregon coast as the sand and the ocean, thanks to the reputation for making a mean bowl of clam chowder. Drew Carney brings us more this morning live from behind the scenes at the original Mo's in Newport. Hey there, Drew.
Hey there, Pete. That's right. Enjoying our morning on the coast. You know, we had to leave the Beaverton area where our station is at about 3:30 this morning in order to get down here in time by 6 a.m. But well worth the trip. I've already had about 2.5 bowls of chowder. I might have to call it off for right now. Maybe I'll pick back up my eating habits around 9 a.m. But we're on a break right now to see how it is they make all this chowder, because you're not just making it for the original Mo's here in Newport. You're making it for Mo's Annex across the street and the other 4 locations in which Mo's is located along the Oregon coast. Cindy McEntee joins me once again. She is the current owner of Mo's. She took over the business from her grandmother, who was Mo.
Correct.
And there's a big history of the restaurant and your grandmother's life in a book that you wrote yourself called Mo's on the Waterfront, Tradition Turned Legend. Where can people purchase this book, by the way?
In most of local bookstores and at all the Mo's locations.
Okay.
Also online at www.moschowder.com.
That's right. There is a link actually to your website on our website, KPTV.com, so you can check out more information there. Some staggering numbers. I understand that you guys make up about 500,000 pounds. That's 500,000 pounds of clam chowder every year. And you serve how many people for how many years now?
We serve 1.5 million people a year for over 50 years.
Unbelievable. People coming from all over the place. A lot of famous people, of course, have dined here at Mo's in Newport. Paul Newman, Henry Fonda, Robert Kennedy, just to name a few here. Now, the reason we're making it, earlier you and I made a small batch of clam chowder downstairs. It was a personalized cooking segment.
Correct.
This is a little bit more of a mass production. Can you talk about the process and how it all works here and where all this chowder ends up?
Well, the process starts, stuff the bacon over here, the clams and potatoes and the clam juice, and the spices are all cooked here. We combine the two, they cook it down, it's pumped into our regulator here, fills the bags, and then plug the bags off, and throw it in the cooling tubs.
How long do they stay in the cooling tubs
They
for?
stay in the cooling tubs for about half hour.
Okay.
And they're brought down to about 30 degrees.
Okay.
Then we pack them up, load our trucks, and off to Florence, Cannon Beach, and Lincoln City.
That's the other locations
That's
for Mo's
correct.
here along the coast. I noticed reading your book, you get close to the end of the book, and there's a picture there of you and President Bush. I don't know, Jared, can you see that? Is that big enough for you here this morning? It almost looks like you're standing next to a cardboard cutout of the president, but that's not accurate. It's really him standing there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really him. It's not a cardboard.
This was a national award. Tell me about why you were with the president on this particular day in 2001.
Well, I won the Small Business Person of the Year in Oregon, and then we go as a delegate to Washington, D.C. I was one of 4 finalists, and I won first runner-up, Small Business Person of the Year.
Okay, congratulations on that award.
Thank you.
Well deserved. Again, a chowder that does not disappoint. They told me when I moved to Oregon a few years back that it was the best. I tried it for myself, and it is awesome, guys. And I even like the way you let that butter sit there and float on the top, kind of soak it in myself there. Guys, we're not done. We're going to head to the streets right outside the original Moe's here in historic Newport to maybe share the wealth and pass along some of our clam chowder this morning. 12 on 12 is next, though. Your complete look at news, weather, and traffic. We have plenty more chowder to pack here this morning. Good Day Oregon continues after this. First, live and local.
Drew Carney has been spending the morning with an Oregon Coast favorite. He's live at the original Moe's in Newport. Hey, shout ahead.
Hey, shout ahead, guys. Out front, the original Moe's this morning, right along Bay Boulevard. Coming up next, don't trip, Jared, walking backwards off the curb there. Coming up next, we're going to try to give some chowder away. We'll meet some of the locals who have made Moe's their home away from home. Cindy McEntee, the owner of Moe's, joins me next, once again with 4 delicious bowls. First, live and local.
They're responsible for producing roughly 500,000 pounds of clam chowder each year.
And what I'd give for about 2 pounds of it right about now. But it's the woman who founded Moe's that led to the book that details the restaurant's history. Drew Carney brings us more on this story live from Newport. And Drew, you're going to talk about the history, and you're also going to take part in a Good Day Oregon tradition, which is handing out food to innocent bystanders on the street.
It's coming up, and it may be a little difficult. They warned me. They said, you know, Drew, Bay Boulevard here on the historic Newport Bayfront isn't exactly hustling and bustling necessarily just before 9 o'clock in the morning, but I think we may have some potential food takers, if you will. Before we get to that, I am joined by Cindy McEntee. She is the granddaughter of Moe, the original Moe, who started this business back in the 1940s. 1942, as a matter of fact, is when they started serving chowder right here at this location in Newport. Cindy, you've been working here at the restaurant since you were a little girl.
That's true.
And then you said to yourself, you know what, I had to honor my late grandmother with a book detailing her history, the restaurant's history. It's called Moe's on the Waterfront, Tradition Turned Legend, written again by Cindy McEntee. It's an easy read, I will say that, and it chronicles the history of the restaurant from its early beginnings in the 40s all the way through to the present day. Now, we've prepared some chowder here this morning because I thought maybe we could stop some people on the street, and I'll tell you what, the next car, there's a car coming here, it's got to stop at the stop sign. Next car that comes by here, Cindy, I'm going to stop and have him taste some of this clam chowder, or maybe we'll get the guy on this side. Now there's a decision to be made. Jared, I think it's safest if we go with this guy right here. This way we're on the side of the street, we won't get hit. Okay, now this is what I do, Cindy. This is how I do. I just stand out in front, I put my hand up, and this guy's like, what's he? Come a little bit closer. I don't want to run that far. I don't have a lot of time in this segment. Okay, now here's what I do. Stay right there. Excuse me. Can you roll? Oh, yes, power windows help with this segment. What is your name, ma'am?
Darlene Greenewald.
Darlene, are you from Newport?
Yes, I am.
Then I imagine you've had some of Moe's famous clam chowder before.
Awesome. Awesome.
Well, how about some clam chowder in the morning? Have you had breakfast yet?
No, I haven't.
Well, come on around here. I'll take a little bit of this. Okay. All right. Don't go anywhere. She almost ran me over again. Take a nice spoonful of that chowder and tell me what you think of chowder prior to 9 a.m. in the morning.
Prior to 9 a.m. Wow.
That's good, isn't it? Do you want to stop there behind me, sir? Sir, would you like some clam chowder this morning? Well, I can't repeat what he just said. Here, you keep that. Can you drive with that safely?
Yes.
Go ahead and do that then. How you doing, sir? How you doing? Hey, would you care for some early morning clam chowder?
Oh, you bet.
Actually, Jared, can you get this close? No, you need to pull up. You need to see this, Jared.
What?
What were you eating this morning? It's still on your beard.
Oh, no.
What is that? Eggs?
I don't know.
Mustard?
Nothing.
Oh, come on. It's still there, whatever it is. Wash it down with some
tequila, I think.
tequila. Okay. Have some clam chowder there.
Right.
We'll get you a spoon. Are you from Newport?
You bet.
You probably had Moe's chowder before then.
Oh, a million times.
And you like it so much.
Absolutely.
Give it a whirl there this morning. Guys, the original Moe's down here along Bay Boulevard in Newport. We're holding up traffic now. We're making a traffic scene. We'll step back to the sidewalk. Mention the book one more time, Moe's on the Waterfront, written by Cindy McEntee, the granddaughter of the original Moe herself. Guys, that's it for this Chowderhead. Sending it back to you there
Oh, it's good stuff. We wish we had some now. Thank you, Drew.
Yeah, Kimberly pointed out that the man had his hazards on. Yeah. I would, too, if I saw a guy with a Chowder head hat on. Hit the hazards, hit the horn, call for help, Andy Carson. That's what I say.
You know what? That's what I say. We're in the party room right here.